Check, 1, 2, 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2.
Good evening, everyone. We're about to start our meeting. I want to welcome you all to the February 12th, 2026 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Mount Pleasant. I'm going to be serving as the chairman this evening in place of our chairman, Mr. Ron Presner, who is unable to be present. But I do want to introduce the members of our board. To my far right, I have Adrian Novak. To my immediate right, Mr. Nicholas DeChico. To my left is Kathy Grahowski, the Secretary for the Zoning and Planning. And to my far left is Mr. Herb Dorr. We have two applications on for this evening. My intention is to call the new application first. Second, we'll be calling the adjourned application from last month's meeting. Just so you understand, what we generally do is we'll call the applicant before the board. There'll be an opportunity for the applicant to present. After the presentation, the board will engage in a colloquy with the applicant to discuss the merits of the application, to develop a factual record. Thereafter, the members of the community will be afforded an opportunity to be heard. I'll call each of you up individually. Those who wish to be addressed before the board, you'll be sworn in, and at that time, you'll be permitted to present. The board will introduce the applicant by calling the identification number as well as the property that's the basis for the application. So first, I'm going to call the new application Z2563. The applicant is John Anastasiou for Ahmad Faisal of the premises located at 109 Hardscrabble Lake Drive in Chappaqua, designated on the tax map of the town of Mount Pleasant as 89/99.5-1-11. This application is for the proposed demolition of an existing deck and the construction of a new larger deck to an existing single-family dwelling on a legal standard parcel in the R40 zone. The variance requested are for a rear yard setback where the zone requirement is 50 feet. The existing structure is 51.5 feet. The proposal is for a distance of 40 feet, which would require a 10-foot variance. And at this point, Mr. Anastasiou, you raise your right hand. You swear to answer all questions put to you by the members of the board truthfully, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may present.
Mr. Acting Chairman and members of the board, before I get started on the presentation, I'd first just like to take the opportunity to introduce my class that's sitting in the back. I'm also a professor at WCC, and one of the classes that I teach is construction methods and materials, and the beginning part of the curriculum deals with approvals so that the project could get started. So since we have a variance here, I thought it would be a great opportunity for them to see how that all plays out. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
The project includes, what prompted the variance is we're doing an addition to an existing living room. There's an existing deck, and then because of the addition to the living room, it's pushing out the deck. The existing living room is an L-shaped, and the family is growing and their needs are growing, so what they wanted to do was to square out the living room. By doing that, we ended up having to push out the deck. The existing deck is pretty, it has a lot of angles to it, but it's not particularly functional because there's a lot of pinch points based on the angles that are there. So they just wanted to square it out in the back. So we're pushing it out, and because of that, and the fact that the angle in the back of the property, we're encroaching on the setback by 10 feet. The existing living room, as you see here, it's this shape here, and then it cuts up like that. So what we're doing is we're adding this to the existing living room, this piece here, to make this a square piece. And then we're extending out the deck a dimension of 14 feet. And since this is going to be like a whole series of windows going across the back, they wanted just to extend it. And there's a door here that leads out to the deck, so they just wanted to connect everything along the back. And this portion here is going to be covered. They want to be able to screen it in during the summer season. and this is what it would look like from the back. It's an existing house, so the part that we're asking a variance for is pushing out the deck, but it's being prompted because of the addition to the existing living room. And then this is a view of it from the side. This is the side that shows the deck. This is the existing house. This is the part that's being bumped out. And then this is the deck that's being extended out. And that part of the deck is going to be covered because they want to enclose it. Not the entire deck, just that portion of the deck. The entire deck goes from the edge of the house, and it tries to capture this door that comes out from the breakfast nook. The covered portion is about a little over a third of the entire length.
So I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First, if I understand, the offending portion of the new deck is only the right, from the, facing the house. It would be on the right side, so it's the right corner?
It's this portion here. The angle has the property has a chamfer in the back, so when that line gets offset 50 feet, it's clipping the square edge of that deck.
Now, because the variance is relatively small, 10 feet is something that we could soften, perhaps, and I just want to explore whether or not the corner, I understand the interest in symmetry and keeping a rectangle to match the dimensions of the home itself, but that corner, the offending corner, could that be rounded and eliminate the need for the 10-foot variance?
What part of the design is, since that part of the deck, they're looking to enclose it, and they wanted to have the views going out, on the right-hand side of that deck, there's going to be a built-in counter, and they also want an exterior fireplace. And by angling it, the fireplace would then block the view looking out towards the back. So the intent here was to have it straight so that the view from inside the living room is unobstructed.
And the fireplace, again, I'll look at it from an aesthetic point of view, but the fireplace is, it's preferred by the homeowner that it be on that side as opposed to the opposite?
Correct. We explored different possibilities. This is the living room side, and then roughly a little bit past the midpoint is where the kitchen is. So the fireplace belongs on the side where the living room is at, and they just wanted it to be perpendicular so that when you're in the living room, you can look straight out and not have it block the view from inside the living room.
I mean, the aesthetic interest is, it's understandable. It's not the most compelling reason to propose something that has the ability to be mitigated, but is not looked at favorably by the applicant.
There were other designs where, you know, that deck was at a corner and the fireplace was put at that corner, but just based on dimensionally all the clearances that are needed, it ends up blocking, you know, a good portion of the view when you're inside the living room, and it kind of defeated the purpose of what the client was intending to accomplish.
So you're suggesting that the homeowner wouldn't have the same vista, they wouldn't have the same benefit of what they're trying to accomplish with this open window view of the rear yard?
That's correct.
I don't have any additional questions, Ms. Novak.
I don't have any questions. We were out there on site inspections. We saw the framing of the deck. I understand the concept here.
Ms. Sheehan.
The current deck deck as is had a unusual shape to it.
It does.
It does. And do you have any understanding as to why it was designed like that? Was it to help it conform to the setback variances, or were there some other design reasons for the shape of the deck as is?
In my opinion, I think it was done at that time because it was just an interesting shape. Because they tried to pick up on some of the other vernacular of the building that has some angles. The existing breakfast nook that's off the kitchen, that's also angled. So if I had to surmise, I think from an architectural point of view, I think they were just trying to pick up on those angles.
And the new design obviously squares off the deck and provides more space for enjoyment out on the deck,
They want usable, functional space.
which, although we were not on the deck, we were at the house. It did not seem like there was much space on the deck as is. Is that correct?
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Just a clarification, you're saying you're bumping the actual house out itself?
Yes.
Because you're squaring off that little octagon that's coming off the back, so the basement all the way up, it's a new foundation moving out. So the house
There
is
will not be a
moving out.
new basement foundation.
Cantilevering it out?
It's going to be built on piers. The little addition to the existing living room, which is kind of like an L shape right now, it's just going to be squared out, and then the deck is just extending out past that. So the addition to the existing living room is going to be built on piers. So it's going to be open underneath.
So the piers, the house is squaring out onto the deck, and then the deck is continuing, if I'm following you
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
So the basement underneath is still going to be open space that we saw existing like it's under the deck currently?
That's correct.
Okay. And then that's going to support a fireplace from the ground all the way up, or is it a top fireplace type?
The fireplace is just going to be a box, and then it gets framed in, and they could clad it with whatever stone veneer they want. So there's not like a weight burden on the deck that's unusual.
And is there a door coming out of the living room, or is the door still coming out of, you're saying it's picking up the door?
There's going to be an added door so that you can go out
So
right from that
there's going to be like a
spot.
French door going into that screen building?
Correct.
No further questions.
All right, is there any member of the community that wishes to be heard? I see no hands raised. At this point, I'll ask members of the board, do you wish to be heard to vote on this now, or would you like to push this to the end of the meeting, and we'll do that after our business session?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board seek to approve application Z25-63 based upon the plans and presentation as submitted on the record.
I'll second.
Ms. Nolan?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Carried. Fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank
Good
you for
night.
bringing the class to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're moving now to our second application of the evening. This is a continuing application that was adjourned from last month. All right. Ms. Whitehead, I'm sorry. Apparently there was a third application. I didn't realize. So we're going to finish with our...
There is, not was, there is.
I was questioning your math with Adrian.
Yeah, no, it's good. There's a back page. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a back page, and it has an additional application on it. It's Z25-58. Charles Alfano, owner of the premises located at 15 Greenwood Lane.
Looking on the back page. First, I'd like to apologize for my husband's absence. He had surgery yesterday, so he's not able to be here. He's home
There's
recuperating.
no trouble whatsoever.
Feel a little
He's okay.
ill prepared. I don't have poster board.
That's okay. Well, what's your name?
I'm Joanne Alfano. I'm co-owner of the Greenwood home as
Ms.
well.
Alfano, I'm just going to ask you to raise your right hand. Do you swear to answer truthfully all questions put to you by members of the board, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm just call the application into the record. Again, this is premises located at 15 Greenwood Lane in Valhalla, New York, designated on the tax assessment map of the town of Mount Pleasant as 89/112.16-1-52. The application is for a proposed 6-foot fence with an existing single-family dwelling on a legal standard parcel in an R20 zone. The variance requested is for maximum fence height, rear and side yard only. The zoning requirement is 4 feet. There is no existing fence, and what is being proposed is a 6-foot fence that would require a 2-foot height variance.
Yes.
You may proceed.
So the fence that we're actually requesting is essentially, I have a picture of a small picture, sorry. It's a picture of a 5-foot fence, and the top 12 inches is lattice work. Prior to us moving into the home in the end of October, beginning of November, there was a lot of trees that separated the house alongside of us. There's a fence left facing, if you're looking at the house on the left side, there is a fence currently there. And then on the right side of the house, it was all trees that were kind of separating, but since then we have removed the trees because a lot of them were dead and needed to be taken down. So the fence that we want to put on the right facing side would be 6 feet, and it was more for privacy purposes. Our neighbor actually, we're splitting the fence with him because of the fact that he has a pool and a back patio and a big backyard for his kids to run around. And so it was more for all of us to be able to be in the backyard and not kind of be overlooking each other because, as you know, I don't know if you're aware, but I think it's a slope on,
Sure.
on the houses. So it's kind of like everybody's overlooking each other. So as opposed to us overlooking into their, if they're having a party or if they're having people over or whatever, that we're all not on top of each other in the back. So we were just looking for that extra 2 feet to give a little bit more privacy.
Just with regard to the need for the fence, certainly privacy considerations are always important to homeowners. The fact that, as you said, the topography of your property creates even a greater need for privacy from neighbors because of the slope. I think your application does present with a degree of significance of the privacy issue. So I don't have any questions for you at this time, but I'll defer to Ms. Novak.
No, I think you've developed, the record and your need for the variance. No questions at this time.
Sheikha?
Just a quick question, just to be clear, there's pools on both sides of your house, your neighbor to the left and neighbor to the right,
Yes.
there's a pool, but so having a fence as proposed would prevent direct access from your property to the neighbor's pool.
Correct, yeah, no, I don't want to go swimming in there.
Right, but I'm saying, but for any
No,
kids that
yeah.
might be running back and forth or things like that.
And sorry, I don't know if that's me or, is it you? They all have their proper fencing around their pools immediately for those purposes, the safety purposes, but this would actually prevent anybody from having even more access.
I have, other than cutting the trees down that were dead, did they provide any screenage before?
I'm sorry, Andy?
Did they provide screenage to the neighbors before?
Yes, there was a lot, there was
So the
bushes,
vegetation
trees, yeah, there was,
Actually served it, and then you took
it
that
kind of
down?
served as a fence
So
itself,
it created, okay.
yes.
No further questions.
Let me ask if there are any members of the community that wish to be heard at this time? Okay, I see no hands raised. I'll ask members of the board at this time if we wish to make a vote on the application now, or we wish to make a vote at the conclusion of the meeting after a business session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve C-25-58.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. DeChico, Mr. Dorr,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Carried 4-0.
Thank you so much.
That's lucky. Oh, and I hope your husband feels well.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Okay, now we have our final application of the evening. This is a continuing application from last month. This is Linda Whitehead, application number Z25-28 for the Jewish Child Care Association for premises located at 1075 Broadway in Pleasantville, New York. Good evening, Ms. Whitehead.
Good evening. Just for the record, again, Linda Whitehead, partner with the firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout, here tonight representing JCCA with respect to this application for a proposed new building to house the health center services on the residential treatment center campus.
Thank you. I'll just repeat into the record. Again, this is the application, as you indicated, designated on the tax assessment map in the town of Mount Pleasant as 106.11-1-21. The application has been submitted for an appeal of the building inspector's determination that a health center is a prohibited use within the R20 zoning district pursuant to Town Code Section 218-5, entitled Parochial and Private Elementary Schools, High Schools, and Colleges. With that,
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just one correction, I think we've determined that it's actually under the section for charitable, religious, or eleemosynary uses. It applies the same way, so it doesn't make a substantive difference. And his denial letter actually didn't cite specifically to that, it just said that a health center is not a permitted use. So, as you've indicated, as a reminder, this is an application for an appeal of a determination from the building inspector. The appeal is brought pursuant to the Mount Pleasant Code and New York Town Law. In his letter, the building inspector stated that a health center is a prohibited use in the R21 Family Residence District. He gives no elaboration or explanation for this position. Didn't cite to any of the materials that had previously been provided to him about the history of the use of the property and the uses already existing on the property. There's no recognition of the fact that these uses, health center uses, all exist, medical and behavioral health, exist today on the property, and that this is not a proposal for a standalone public health center to be used as a separate use. This is not a separate use. It's part of the residential treatment center use. The letter implies that it's to be a separate use, almost implies that it's something that's going to be open to the public. And as we discussed and explained at last month's meeting, that's not the case. It's strictly to serve the residents on the campus. So the only question before this board is whether the building inspector's determination is correct, based upon the facts and upon the provisions of the code, or if in fact, as we've shown, the use of the property is not actually changing, and therefore JCCA can proceed with its application, which, as we also discussed, would also have to go to the planning board for site plan approval, where they would address other issues such as the siting and the drainage and access and things like that. When you're deciding an appeal of a building inspector's interpretation of the zoning ordinance, it's important for you to keep in mind what the law says, which is that zoning regulations are in derogation of common law and property rights, and therefore zoning is to be interpreted in favor of the property owner. If there's any ambiguity, if local ordinances aren't clear, those ordinances, because they restrict property rights, are to be strictly construed in favor of the property owner and against the municipality. So if there's any ambiguity, any question in how you apply, the law says you have to decide it in favor of the property owner. Following up on the discussion at your last meeting, we've tried to provide you with some of the information that was requested. You asked us for information regarding the square footage of these uses as they exist on the property today, the square footage of the proposed new building, and some more information on that. So we provided to you the proposed floor plan for the new building, which is shown here. The new building is approximately 11,500 square feet. We also gave you a plan. It was hard because we had to sort of recreate them from some old, there really were no current plans. But we gave you the plan for what's referred to as the PCS Infirmary or PCS Health Center. That's the Pleasantville Cottage School. That's actually, this is not the most perfect map of the whole campus, but this is the proposed new building. This is where the PCS Healthcare Center is located, all the way towards the rear. That building has about 9,053 square feet used for medical. There's some therapy rooms. There's a number of offices for healthcare providers, storage for this information, some things like that. There was some detail on that in the information. In addition, there's about 1,700 square feet currently being used in what's referred to as the Edenwald Administration Building. We gave you that plan that shows the area in that building that's being used for health services, primarily for the Edenwald campus, but also for others. Those add up to about 10,728 square feet. The Edenwald's,
Is that the entire structure? Or
no, the
used
part
for
that's
health
being
services?
used for health services.
It's 10,000 square feet at the.
No, the combination of the two.
What was the Edenwald number?
The Edenwald number is 1675. And these were all in our letter, in the information that we submitted. So the Edenwald number is also a little deceiving because it doesn't include any common areas, doesn't include bathrooms, hallways, things like that, because we just took the rooms that are being used for these purposes. In addition, there's a number of spaces around the campus, in cottages and in some other administration buildings that are currently being used for some of the behavioral health services, therapy sessions, psychologists, things like that. They're running programs in other buildings around the campus. Those will all be consolidated into this one new building. So in the end, what it really comes out is that the square footage in the new building is really less than when you add up all those other spaces. So I know this was, something you asked about at the last meeting. So we tried to pull that together. It was a little bit of comparing apples to oranges, because the spaces, right now, there's spaces that are shared. They're used for both office and therapy rooms. We're trying to separate that. Make the therapy rooms dedicated therapy rooms. Provide office space. There's some shared office spaces, some shared desk areas that show on the floor plans which we submitted. So the idea, as we discussed last time, was to bring all of these uses together into one building, more efficient use, meeting all current codes, including fire codes, a safer building. It's one story. It's more central. By having everybody come to one place for these services, it's just easier to keep track of everything and keep track of the residents. So we submitted to you a letter from Gluck Architects, who prepared this plan summarizing the design of the new building, how they reached the design, how they compared, they looked at the existing spaces and what was needed to go into this new building, how they developed it, and some of the benefits of the new building. And Charlie Kaplan from Gluck is here tonight if you have any questions about that plan or how they developed it. We also provided a letter from Anne Marie Scalia, the CEO of JCCA. You met her at the last meeting. She discusses the need for the new health center, some of the many benefits that it will provide from an operational and treatment standpoints, and how those improved services, or the improved ways of providing those services, really will benefit the community as a whole. A number of reasons why the existing facilities are problematic and don't allow for the most effective treatment of the children. I'd actually like to have Anne Marie come and she can kind of expand on a little bit of that herself, if it's okay if she comes up for a moment to speak.
Whenever you'd like.
And she is an attorney, so you do not have to swear her.
Very good, thank you.
I think it's best coming from her. It's very close to her. Anne Marie is relatively new to JCCA, and she's really trying to look at how to provide their services better, make the campuses work better, and make these improvements. So.
Hello, Anne Marie Scalia, the CEO of JCCA.
Welcome.
Thank you. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you tonight about something I feel very deeply and passionate about. So I will get into some of the major reasons why this is so important, not only to me, the children, the staff, but also the community. As Linda said last time and again tonight, the centralization of this health center is paramount to proper supervision, care, and treatment of the children. Right now, the level of movement that the children have to do in order to both get their medical and their therapeutic services is very difficult, not only for us, but for them. They have to go from their school to their cottage, all the way over sometimes to the Edenwald campus, and then back over to the PCS side. That, for children who can become dysregulated for a number of reasons, is adding a lot of extra trauma to something that really does not have to be done in that way. Right now, this design was meant to take all that into account. And I want to add something that I think is really important, because I heard some of the testimony that was brought before you the last time, this design was not only meant to think about the children and the staff and the provisions of service, it was also meant to think about the community as a whole. We've heard the community, we've engaged with the community, we welcome the community. This is to make sure that we have the proper supervision on our campus at all times. This allows us to do that. We are already providing these services every day, all day, 7 days a week. What this allows us to do is to have better control of everything that is happening on our campus. That is important to us. The safety of our children, the safety of our staff, and the safety of the community is paramount. We understand that we're neighbors, we want to be good neighbors, and there is nothing more that we are trying to do in making this happen but to accomplish all of those goals. The use is exactly the same. We are not trying to pull anything over on anybody. We're not trying to masquerade anything. We have invited the community onto our campus. We welcome them to come and join our volunteer groups on the campus. But this has nothing to do with anything else than what the services that we are currently providing to the kids, what we want to continue. And I will just add that our children are deserving of this. They need to have a beautiful place where they can feel welcomed and treated and safe. And it's in that safety and proper way to deliver these services that they will be able to be regulated and not become dysregulated and to get what they need. So I'm happy to answer questions. I can go on for a really long time, but I'll stop there and see if you have anything to ask.
Well, I just want to make one point, and that is, and if you reviewed the testimony and some of the comments from the board members at the last meeting, one of the things that was not a subject of contention, and I think everyone was agreeable, that the purposes for the facility, the proposed facility, are all laudable. Nobody was contesting whether the new building, the new center would be better than what you have now. So I appreciate everything you said, but that doesn't actually go to the issue that we have to address in connection with this application, which is whether or not it's a permitted use, not whether or not it's a laudable use. We all agree.
I think
it's
they go
laudable.
hand in hand because I was here the last time, and when we told everyone that the use is the same, that is when the square footage became the issue and the reasons for a new building as opposed to the old building came up. So I would agree to disagree on that because that's precisely why we're here again tonight.
No, I think the reason why you're here tonight, as opposed to, not wrapping things up last month, are, one, because it's a complicated application, it's an important application, not everything gets resolved, and plus, there was a surprising lack of details brought to the table last month as to the proposed building and exactly what services are going to be offered and where and how it's going to be divided up. It was furthermore surprising, I might say, that numerous people that were here last meeting with this perceived lack of understanding of any of these details appeared with their names on a brochure published online on the JCCA website going through many of the details that we were asking about. So that was concerning.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding that point.
We were asking for details about the proposed building, size, use, things of that nature. A few answers were given.
I think we answered the
I
questions
actually-
about the use, we just didn't
Yeah.
have the square footage numbers.
Things
And
were answered.
I am a lawyer, and so
I
I
know you are.
understood the purpose
Right.
of what the appeal was,
The-
and the appeal was as to the use.
Right. Also, after the meeting, it was presented that there was a brochure on the JCCA website with many of the details, pictures, narratives, people commenting on the,
Do you mean fundraising stuff? Because I'm still at a loss as to why that is relevant.
And on this brochure that was published online, on the JCCA website, several of the people that were here last meeting had their names on the brochure as people involved in the project.
Could I
So
just?
it was surprising.
I'm not sure which names you're speaking of,
Right,
because
let me-
I was not here at that point, and I don't believe any of those people were here.
I actually think that we answered questions about the use. We answered all your questions about the use. The
That's not-
information.
That's not true.
Well, the information
hap-
that we didn't have the square footage numbers because we wanted to make sure we had them right.
Okay.
We didn't want to be guessing.
That's understood, and it's appreciated that you wanted to have correct answers. So we did allow you to have the adjournment to today's meeting so that you could do whatever research needed to be done in preparation for a presentation on the nature of the use of the property. But simply making the conclusory statement that the use is not different is not.
So
And this-
During the last meeting, there was a statement that you made where you said that you believed that the use was the same. And there was a comment that I made during that meeting where I said that that's a conclusory statement, but we need to have the underlying facts that support that. You were not able at that time to provide those. So you now saying, Ms. Scalia, that again, the use is the same, is another conclusory statement that is not adequately supported. But I'm willing to now have an opportunity
Okay.
to explore that, because it appears that you're prepared to provide us with the answers to some of the questions that we had that went unanswered during our last meeting.
Which is
that's
not-
fine,
which-
but
which- which is-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Which, and this, we've gotten sidetracked a little bit because of the statement that seemed to indicate that we were here for reasons that weren't really, really supported, or that the board was making you come back for asking irrelevant questions.
That's not what I
Well,
said.
that was the clear indication of the
We
tone.
apologize
as to
if that was.
why we're back, and the only reason why we're back this month is because we were asking about this, that, the other thing. There was information that the board requested, or was asking about, that was not fully available. And that's, understand, not everything is always available on the first meeting.
Correct.
And sometimes you have to come back and resolve it, and you provided a bunch of information for us to review, which is wholly proper. So let's review that information and get on with it, so please.
But thank you. So Ms. Whitehead, did you want to continue?
Yeah, just briefly, again, and we've kind of gotten to this point that, you know, the real issue to be looked at is the use. We provided you also with some information, which we also provided at the last meeting, that the behavioral health services, the therapeutic services, psychologists, psychiatrists were provided on the campus as early as the 1920s. The document that we provided had some information about this being really the first of this type of facility that provided those services and became a model. We did have that last month, but we've now given it to you again. So I think that's important to show, you know, these services have always existed as part of the care that's provided for the children on the campus. The code, just a reminder that the code provides at section, just have it, 21884, that this use, which existed prior to zoning, but fits into one of the special permit uses in the code, is therefore deemed to be a permitted use under the code. And it specifically anticipates in that section that extensions or additions to the use are permitted and allowed, provided the same meet the requirements of the code. So the new building will meet the requirements of the code, it will meet the setbacks, the other things like that that are required. So the only real question for your board is whether the use is changing.
However, you have to recognize that what you just said is not consistent with the building inspector's decision.
I'm telling you what the code says. I can read you the section directly out of the code.
You can, and I could read it myself as well, but the fact of the matter is, what we're reviewing today is the
Whether
building
he was
inspector's
correct.
determination, which he provided a basis for that is somewhat distinct from what you just
Did he
represented, we
provide-
should be guided by.
I'm sorry, did he provide a basis? Because all we've seen is just a statement. Again, a conclusory statement, I might add, that a health center is not permitted. without addressing, we're saying that he's wrong on the facts and on the law. Because on the facts, it's not a health, the use of the property, let me just finish this quickly. The use of the property is not a health center. We're not proposing to use the property as a health center. We are using the property as a residential treatment center where health services are provided.
So I can ask you, let me ask you a question about that. So you're not, because I don't think you are, but it seemed like for a second that you might, but I want to be clear. You're not proposing, you're indicating that if there was no health center on this property beforehand, that one would be permissible to build from scratch? Or are you proposing that is actually the case?
I don't think it's relevant because it's not the question before you, because it does exist today. However.
But the question is the
I-
use,
let me-
which you said
yeah.
the use is not the health center, it's the
Right, so
RTC,
I
which
would
has the
also
health center there.
argue, and this was in our submission, that the use of the property is a residential treatment center. And the provision of health services in a health center, infirmary, whatever you call the building, the provision of those services is a customary part of a residential treatment facility use. You can't have a residential treatment facility or residential treatment center without providing those services to the children who live on that campus.
Just returning to what Mr. DeChico said, you did suggest that if you wanted to build the new facility today, that it would be a permitted use? That is what you said.
If we wanted to build what? The,
The health center that's proposed now, you wanted to build that today and there was no existing structure there, that you're suggesting it would be a permitted use?
I believe, and I don't think it's relevant because I don't think it's
But it
where
is
we
what you
are.
said, I just want to make sure.
Yes, I believe
That's
that
what Mr. DeChico was
if-
asking you. So you're suggesting that if you were to build this facility today with no pre-existing facility existing, that it would be a permitted use under the code?
That it would be it would be a typical part of a residential treatment facility, residential treatment center use.
Which
To
would-
include health services. However, it's not
All right,
relevant
so you're not
because it
saying
does
would be permitted
exist.
use. That'll be
I
clear, I
just
just want to
think it's not
understand.
relevant.
Because that's fine, but you're not saying that.
It's not relevant.
Okay.
That's
So
not
she's
the argument
withdrawing
I'm
the statement
making.
that she made that it was a
I
permitted
don't,
use.
It's not the argument I'm making.
Excellent.
the, where I think we're really getting down to here is the idea that you have pre-existing buildings that were being used or are being used for a health center. If you were as we discussed on the last, you want to say the last court date, but the last.
Last meeting.
The last meeting date. The last meeting date. There would likely be a distinction in the approach to this whole thing if you were simply looking to renovate or expand in some way or fix up the buildings where they are. But the issue that's kicking in is really because you're looking to build a new structure in a different part of campus.
And
Which is why, agree or disagree with the building inspector, but that's really where the determination is coming from, that this is an impermissible project that you're trying to do.
And I would say that under the law, that's not correct. That there is nothing that says that you can't move something to a different building or build it. As a matter of fact, the code specifically says you can build an additional building. It's very specific. It says you can build extensions and additions and move the same uses into there.
I don't know that it
But you're
clearly
overlooking
says
the
that.
consequence of that.
Yeah.
If you do that, you no longer benefit from having a pre-existing non-conforming use.
We're not a pre-existing non-conforming
But that is
use.
the basis for the decision,
No.
Ms. Whitehead.
The
That's the
use,
basis for his decision, that you no longer have the benefit of a pre-existing non-conforming
We are
use.
not-
That is why you're here.
no, that's not why we're here. Under the other the section that I cited and that I've read to you before,
218.
we are not a pre-existing non-conforming use. We are deemed, the residential treatment center use, at the time the zoning was adopted, was deemed to be, it's deemed to be a permitted use.
And that could be
And-
an argument that you would have made to the building inspector at the time.
We did.
but
He
his decision, the one that he relied upon to make the determination to deny your application, was that you no longer benefit from having the pre-existing non-conforming
That's not
use
what he
now.
says. That's not what it
But
says.
it's a permitted use, one might argue. It's a permitted use in the sense that you have a use of a certain kind that is now not allowed by the code, but since it's there beforehand, you're allowed to use it. So it's therefore permitted. So you're
Can I read this section of the code?
So you're operating legally because you're grandfathered in from the code, essentially.
It's not a grandfathering. It's very different. So typically, yes, that would be the case, and you would be considered a legal nonconforming use. But your code has this very specific provision that says, any use lawfully existing at the time of adoption of these regulations or of any amendment thereto, in the district in which such use is classified herein as a special use, shall, without further action, be deemed to be a conforming use in such district. Any extension of or addition to such use shall meet all requirements of these regulations.
Right, and,
So,
and
let-
I've highlighted that section in your paper, and just for the record, I think that it's actually 218-85, not
Sorry,
dash.
it is 85.
It's 85, thank you. So, right. So
I have
two
it right-
eighteen
I
point.
have it right here.
218-85, not 84 as indicated, but that's of no consequence. We're all talking about the same section. There's a lot in there that I understand why you're interpreting it the way that it suits you, yes.
And by
But-
the way, it's been interpreted that way by this town in 2000, whatever the year was, the year that we did the new, got approvals for another new facility where it was classified as a charitable, religious, or
We're gonna
use.
figure that word out.
I learned how to say it back when I did that application.
We're gonna get it.
And it was determined at that time to fall under that category and therefore to be a permitted use. So, and I can give you the information, I have the decisions of the boards and some of the correspondence from that time, be happy to give that to you, but that was a determination already made by this town.
So when you read the first line of that section of the code, where it says, I believe, where the use is permitted, you're suggesting that today, under the code, that it is a permitted use to build a health center on the facility?
It's a permitted use to have the residential treatment facility, which includes, I mean, we keep calling it the health center. Right, the uses that are going in the health center building, it's the uses, it's not the name of the building.
I agree with
It's-
that.
it's-
Characterizing it by a
Right,
name
so-
is not anything that we're placing weight
Right,
upon.
so it's the uses. And those uses, yes, already exist. So I would say that those uses are part of the use that is deemed a permitted use.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to explore whether or not the use is in fact a permitted use, because we're going to determine what the function of the new structure is going to be, not what the title of it is or the name
Right.
of it, but we want to see how it's being used.
Right. So it's the same as the cottages. The the code doesn't say cottages are permitted or not permitted, but the cottages are a part of a residential treatment center use. Every other thing that's on that campus is a part of that use, and a typical part of that use, providing medical services, providing therapy. A psychologist, a therapist, a nurse, a doctor.
Bless you.
Those are all, bless you, those are all, same as having cottages and having people who take care of the kids in the cottages, having cafeterias, having dining spaces, having, chefs. Do we have a restaurant? Is that, it's not a restaurant. It's dining services. These are health services. These are all the different things that make up the use.
I have to say, it seems to me quite an extension to say that because it's a permitted use as far as the RTC being there from when the code was enacted, which nobody's contesting that, obviously. You're functioning legally there based upon the code. That you know, any and all things you could ever dream of doing that are somehow connected to the servicing the clients are now therefore permitted under the special use permit.
We've also shown you that these particular
It seems-
services were there in the 20s.
But you do see how Mr. DeChico's argument does kind of take what you've said to an
it snowballs
extension
very
that makes
quickly
it
when-
untenable.
So let me give you sort of an example
Yeah.
from a very different area on what I mean when I talk about something being a typical part of a use. In a lot of municipalities in Westchester, golf courses might be permitted in certain zones. Golf courses lots of times want to have staff housing. Staff housing isn't looked at as, oh, that's a residential use, it's not permitted there. It's looked at as it is a typical part of a golf course use. Just like providing medical services for the residents is a typical part of any kind of a college campus.
I
College
understand the argument that
campuses
you're
have the
trying to
same
make.
things.
And yes, there are many uses
College
that could be-
campuses have the same, they all have medical centers or infirmaries, and they have therapy services. A college campus has the same kind of thing.
I understand there can be many uses that are attendant to another use or primary use. But what we need to address is the specific use of this new facility. And I think, for what it's worth, we've done a fine job now of framing the issue. Your argument is that this new structure would be a permitted use because of the fact that it has attendant features that are already provided for through services on the property, and this is now
We're not changing the use.
collecting them into one structure as opposed to having them provided for through multiple structures on the property.
Correct. We're not,
That's-
it's that we're not changing the use.
So now let's get into what the use is, and then we can make that determination.
Sure.
So one of the things that you did elaborate on was the size of the new structure, and I believe you said it was 11,500 square feet. This is to provide services that otherwise were being provided or at present are provided through a PC Health Center. That's 9,053 square feet, and the Edenwald portion, I think it's part of another structure, but an area of 1,675 square feet.
And
is
additional
used for that.
spaces around the campus.
So now can we get into the inside of the building? What's the number of rooms that you have in the existing buildings, which would, I guess, include the PC unit and the Edenwald unit, so we can compare the number of
So we started,
treatment rooms, the number of,
I'm sorry, go ahead. You can finish.
No, I'm just trying to help
Sure.
you understand what we're looking for in terms of now assessing what the actual use of the new structure would be. So I'm giving you some guidance in terms of how you can answer that question.
So we tried, we tried to sort of look at that comparison. It's not apples to apples. I explained that a little bit before. It's apples to oranges.
do the best we
Let
can.
me finish. So there's a number of rooms that have shared use right now, multiple uses. They're used as offices and treatment rooms. We've tried to separate those. So there's more rooms in the
How
new
many
building.
treatment rooms are there between the Edenwald and the PC units?
Treatment rooms that are encompassing both therapeutic and medical.
We've also
Yes,
tried
we're
to
not getting into the
separate.
behavioral.
Some of them
This
are
is
not
just for medical.
rooms, they are open spaces that we're utilizing. So that's why we stuck with the square footage, because it's not a matter necessarily of the rooms, because we have double use of some of the rooms. Some of the
Okay.
rooms are used for therapy and medical.
So if they have
And we've
medical
tried
use,
to
they could be
separ-
included in the number.
But we've tried to
What would that number
separate
be?
them now. So where you had one room before, it might turn into 3 rooms, because it was being used for therapy sessions, it was being used as a medical treatment room, and it was being used as an office. We've now separated those
I
uses.
understand. So how many rooms would there be in the new structure that provide medical treatment?
Charlie, do you have the numbers? Come on up, let me, yeah, that's the architect. I just, we'll give you the information to the best of our ability, but it's really not relevant, because it's not apples to
I think it's up for
apples.
us to determine what's relevant, but that said, thank you.
For the record, I'm saying,
I'm trying to help you, believe me.
I understand that, but I'm saying I don't think this is a proper analysis that we can make, but we will
Okay.
give you the information.
Thank you so much. You want to be sworn, sir? Your name?
Charlie Kaplan.
Mr. Kaplan, do you swear to answer truthfully all questions put to you by members of the board, so help you God?
Do.
Thank you. You wanted a pose a question to him, Ms. Whitehead?
So you,
This is medical, there are 6 actual medical treatment rooms in the medical portion. Use the microphone. Sorry.
you can take it off.
Take this off?
Yes.
And by the way, on a rough count, I tried, I really did. I actually counted about 20 treatment rooms combined in the old structure.
And that would be the
The
PC and the,
and the Eden Wall.
okay.
PCS
And
and
that's
Eden Wall.
not counting
PCS,
what's
I'm sorry,
around
PCS.
the rest of
Multi-use
the
treatment
campus.
rooms is what I'm gathering. Okay, just.
Okay, so the new structure would have 6 medical treatment rooms?
Correct.
And the pre-existing structures had 20?
They weren't all, they weren't designated, it was hard to designate between medical, because some were used for both.
Medical and
And
behavioral?
behavioral.
Right, there's 6 medical treatment rooms in the newly proposed facility, and there's approximately 10 behavioral treatment rooms. So a total of, call it 16.
10 behavioral?
Is that counting the calming rooms, et cetera, that were referenced in the?
It's not including the common offices, and then there are sensory rooms in each of these wings, and it's not including
So
those.
the behavioral is separate from the sensory rooms?
Correct,
I understand the uses of
Correct.
both, I'm just trying to.
correct.
And how many sensory rooms are there?
There are, they're in each wing, there are,
And you all have this plan. It
Yes.
was in our submission.
I believe there are 4.
And just so I understand, what's a sensory room? Is that connected?
Actually, there's 5. There's 5,
Yeah,
there's
these are
5.
double.
Sorry, there's 5.
A sensory room is used to help our autistic kids who are on our campus or who have sensory overload issues. So it allows them a space to decompress and have less stimulation.
Thank you. Okay, so 6 medical treatment, 10 behavioral, and 4 sensory rooms.
These two double as treatment.
Yeah, yeah.
And 2 of the sensory rooms double as treatment rooms.
So does that increase the number of medical treatment rooms if you add those 2? We won't,
Those are behavioral, not medical.
So it could go up to 12.
Would you count those in treatment rooms? Sorry, just count that.
That's okay. Just trying to get a big picture.
I understand. And again, you have this.
While we're counting, which I understand, how are the autistic kids with the need for a sensory room or to take sensory walks or whatever the case may be, how are they handled now? Do they have such sensory rooms?
Yes, we have sensory rooms throughout the campus.
We have sensory rooms throughout the campus, as well as the schools have sensory rooms.
They've had to sort of create them out of existing spaces.
are they in the square footage of the PCS unit and the Edenwald unit?
No, I do not believe there are sensory rooms in either of those 2 buildings.
So they're
spread in
outside.
some other spaces, but it's really important that those sensory rooms be incorporated into the new facility.
So if we speak about that just very, very quickly, just a sensory room is what? I believe I have an understanding what it is, but for the record, how is a sensory room different than a regular treatment room?
I'm going to ask that Deb Falk come up because she is a clinician. And she can educate on that one.
Good evening, Ms. Falk.
Hi.
I'm sorry, your full name?
Deb Falk, F-A-L-K.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Do you swear to answer truthful questions put to you by the members of the board, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
So are you asking like what's in a sensory room? Could you just repeat the question?
That's what I have some layman's knowledge, which I believe is on point, but I'd rather you just put on the record. as to what it is.
Sure. So some youth would do better with sensory type objects. It might be bean bags. It might be different lighting. It might be different soothing sounds like white noise machines. It could be that we take the lights and we make them look like clouds so you can dim the lights. Excuse me. We also, depending on the use, she might put some soft foam that you could jump on, so the youth can sort of, re-regulate, almost like a bounce or a jump, kind of place. But some youth prefer to be bouncing and active, and other kids prefer to be calmer and softer and darker, and, you could have more stuffed animals and those type of things.
So how do you address those needs currently? What type of rooms do you provide?
So we do have room. Continue.
Yeah, we have various treatments throughout the entire campus. We provide various treatment modalities to all the children. The sensory rooms in this building are used to help us
The
in
new building?
this new
No,
building.
I'm trying to, right now I'm asking about
Yes.
the existing.
Yes, but I'm failing to understand why we are speaking about the parts of our practice that are currently happening within our campus walls.
Because this goes back to the original question where we got off track a half hour ago. Because what more or less happened last time we were here is that there were statements saying the use is the same. So the board was looking for more details, rather than you just saying, well, the use is going to be the same, so therefore give us what we're asking for, and the building inspector is wrong. We were asking essentially, explain to us, how is the use the same? What is
So
the
if
use
we're
now?
talking about
What
the
is it
sensory
here?
rooms in particular, we have sensory rooms within the cottages, we have sensory rooms in the schools, we have sensory rooms in the therapeutic treatment rooms that we currently have on our campus. They are all over our campus, and they're used in the same way that is going to be proposed in this health center.
How many are there?
Mr. Chairman, I would just say, if they don't want to answer your question, they can end their presentation now.
That is not what I'm
Town
saying.
Attorney, Mr.
So,
Shafazadeh, for the record. Thank you, Mr. Shafazadeh. As you know, I'm trying to get an accounting of what exists now versus what's being
Yep.
proposed.
Yep.
So my question before you is, how many of those rooms are there?
I can tell you there's probably 6 or 7 of them. I couldn't tell you specifically.
6 or 7 is good. I'll take
And
6
the
or 7.
idea of these is so that there's sensory rooms available where they're going to get their other health services. So if they need, you should probably answer this better than me, but, they're there to get services, but while they're waiting, or if something happens, they might need to be in a sensory room for a period of time.
So I understand how it cuts legally for your application is a different question, but I understand why that would make sense on a very basic level. I understand that. But also for the record, just so we're clear, and again, whichever way it cuts at the end of the day, it does what it does. But those sensory rooms are currently not incorporated within the parts that are providing the health services, but you want to incorporate them into this building with everything.
That's not true either. I mean, we've told you, wait, let me.
I thought I heard you say the sensory rooms were in all different spots and not.
They are, but we also told you that there's therapies being provided, there's other therapy services being provided in other places around the campus, not just the sensory rooms. So cottages where there are where there are sensory rooms, there may also be therapy services being provided there. These services are spread all around the campus right now, and that's not good. And that's what we're really trying to address by bringing all these uses together.
Let me, and Chuck can answer him. So you don't have to explain to me any of the therapy stuff. I already established I'm a physical therapist, so I understand all that. What happens to the existing that are spread out? I can understand in the cottages needing those type rooms, that's going to stay. What about the other ones that you're saying you're combining into this?
Are some of the sensory
What
rooms
happens to the
staying?
spaces that this is replacing? Not the sensory rooms. Sensory rooms, I understand, could be in a cottage overall, not just nitpicking it, this service, that service.
This is the question I was hoping to be asked.
So what happens, like my question last time that you couldn't answer was, what happens to the spaces if this was approved going forward with the building inspector?
Yes.
Do they stay there vacant?
Yes.
Do they get used for something else?
No,
Do
no,
they get blown down?
yes, I understand the question.
As opposed to the ability to do, as we've asked previously, can we renovate? Like I saw in your letter, putting an elevator in, takes up square footage.
Yes.
I understand the cost factors from that standpoint. So what happens to all this when this gets combined? Do the other ones just go poof away? I mean, because I know there's other cottages and stuff. so.
So the rooms that were currently being used for medical and behavioral are rooms. They're not residential facilities, they are rooms. We are double and tripling people up into those offices as well as using them for therapy. So once we have this new building, those rooms will be de-densified, and the staff will all have their own offices so that they can have privacy in order to do their calls and what have you. They will be only used for administrative office use, back office space, and de-densifying what we are currently have nurses on top of administrative staff, on top of the psychologist, on top of the psychiatrist. We will then be able to utilize the other space in the way that they were meant to be, which is administrative office use.
So that begs the question then, the existing facility has both office space and treatment space within it. The new facility will only have treatment space. Office space is going to be allocated to the pre-existing.
There's
facility.
some office space because the doctors have to have a place to put their files, and so some of them will be used as swing office space and other of that nature. But
There's some shared
yeah,
workspace.
so it's like drop centers. People will have to put their computers. They'll have to make a phone call, but they will also be able to be doubled used for therapeutic purposes.
So the existing facility, the structure, is going to be solely office space after the renovation that you're proposing.
I'm sorry. Could you just say that one more time? I didn't understand what you said.
The existing building is going to be sold.
The current building, that is, yes, yes.
The current medical, yeah.
Thought they moved the same. Okay.
Yes.
So
And
that said,
including security offices and administrative offices. Security staff and administrative.
so this covers our medical treatment rooms, our behavioral treatment rooms, our sensory rooms. What other treatment is going to be made available in the new structure? I know you had made reference during last month's meeting to enhanced, I'll use the word technology, but that there was some advanced equipment
Medical.
that was going to be utilized in this structure that hadn't been feasible in the existing structure?
I think, Charlie,
Sure.
And the medication.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah, I mean, look, the original treatment facility, the first one was the PCS Medical Center, and it was built in 1918. And so the rooms were not necessarily equipped with the electrical power and things that you need for modern medical equipment in a treatment room. When you go to your doctor's office, you know all the different things that are hooked up in a very small space. So the new treatment rooms will be equipped in that way. Very difficult to retrofit the old building to really accommodate that.
So what are those enhanced features of the treatment that's going to be available? X-ray machines, MRIs, what are we
I
talking
mean,
about?
I'll let
See,
you
that's
guys
why
really.
we really are, we're trying to get
Sure.
facts out of you, and it's tough. It's tough.
Blood pressure, we talked about blood pressure monitors and,
I mean, Charlie already mentioned specifically about the, electrical outlets, wiring, but even our basic lighting technology, even going back to the new builder, I know the sensory rooms, like even changing the lights and stuff in there isn't something that we can do in their current space. But going back to your medical question, I had mentioned last time that, not even some of the furniture that you sit on to get a physical exam, fully fits in some of those rooms. So when you're talking about the computers that you need, those sort of updated technology, blood pressure cuffs, we're not doing a hospital. We're not doing like that type of, but still your basic, regular medical services. Like when you go to your doctor's office and there's the little wheeled up, laptop that they're taking your information directly into. We don't have that. We still have some paper and those type of charts. So that's what it's really
just
covering.
more modern equipment as opposed to
Yes.
different equipment?
Yes.
You're not actually
No.
providing services that are different than the ones currently provided? They're
Correct.
just going to be perhaps...
It's primary care. Physicals, vaccines, checkups, little well visits. That's what we provide for our youth.
Okay.
You spoke on, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
you spoke about, you mentioned medication management.
What was the question?
I think-
Yeah.
Charlie was gonna talk.
I mean, either way.
Yeah.
Could you just ask the question
No,
specifically? I'm
well,
sorry.
the term was, it was mentioned,
Medication.
medication management was mentioned as something you might want to speak about, so I was just
Sure.
representing that issue. So you could-
So many of our youth are on medication, and there are medication passes that happen multiple times a day. So there might be a morning med pass, midday med pass, or an evening med pass, and there might be youth that are on more than that schedule. The current health centers are small, narrow, not really the easiest to line kids up in a safe and orderly fashion. The concept behind these wings, as you can see, is that we'll be able to funnel kids in and out in an orderly, safe fashion, because really controlling the movement of kids is really paramount to safety. So that's really the design of this, that we would have.
You'll see there's specific areas identified for medication management in the medical and the behavioral. So it's just all better organized, more
It's a-
orderly.
It's about a flow. You want the youth to flow in an orderly fashion. You don't want them funneled in through one door and, stuck and contained.
And you have to
So-
remember, we all agree.
Okay.
Everything
I'm
that
sorry.
you're attempting to provide through the use of the new facility sounds better than what you
Understood.
have now had previously. Nobody's questioning that kind of argument. It sounds like, again, an improvement.
I
Across the
think
board.
if you look at the letter that Charlie wrote that was part of our submission, it talks about how he looked at the existing spaces and coming up with this design, looked at the existing spaces and what he needed to get into this building based on the existing.
So, I think we have a pretty good understanding of the physical structures within the building. What are the services that are going to be provided if we could go with what we have now currently available and what you're proposing to make available? Is there anything that's enhanced in terms of the new services that you intend to provide? I know you made reference at the last meeting to the behavioral treatment, that was an enhancement of the new services to be provided. Well, then, let
I'm
me
sorry, when you
ask
say,
you,
I think when we say enhancement, we mean the quality of the space. That's the enhancement we speak of. We provide the therapeutic milieu right now on campus as we speak. That's part of our mandate. That's part of what we're licensed to do. The enhancement is the technological enhancement. The enhancement is the spatial enhancement, the beauty, the ability to have it be ADA compliant, to allow the children to move more freely. That's the enhancement we're speaking of.
so in terms of the nature of the treatment or the services provided, the new facility isn't going to provide anything different than the existing facility?
No.
With respect to the number of treatment providers, how many treatment providers are currently working within the existing facility? And again, this would include both the PCS and the Edenwald facility.
Some are part-time, some are.
It depends on, there are full-time staff and there are per diem staff who we contract with, who come on campus, like the psychologist and the doctors. So this facility would not change any of that. We have the same people today that will move into this building and provide the services that we are licensed and contracted to do. So it's not changing that at all.
I just asked for the number.
I could get that to you, but I don't have it off the top of my head. And I would ask that, are you asking about our nurses, our social workers, our psychiatrists, our psychologists?
Do you want it as a full-time
Treatment providers.
equivalent? Do you want it as, so I think
I just want to be very clear. People leave, we have vacancies, so we hire people, so it is always a moving number. But this facility does not change the number of people that we currently have and will have when this is built. It may change because people will leave, or we will hire the vacancies that we haven't hired that currently are vacant right now, that we will hike higher. So it's a little bit hard to give you any number because it'll change in any given day.
Like, do you want to, just respectfully, do you want a range? Do you want it by discipline? Like, we're happy to provide.
Are you looking to expand the number of treatment providers? In the ideal, if you were at census for the ideal number of treatment providers that you have now, as is, would this new facility require you to have X number of more treatment providers?
So,
In the
I
ideal?
didn't understand that question.
I'm saying,
It's the same question. It's, will there be, do we need more providers,
For-
staff?
No.
in the
Well, not
facility?
need, but do you
Yeah.
intend to
anticipate?
provide
No.
more treatment
No.
providers in the new facility than you currently
No.
can provide for in the existing?
No, because again, like we've said, all the folks that are currently providing these services are scattered all over the campus. So we're just putting them in here, it's not more, and the square footage is pretty much the same. So we're not adding more people into that building, or we're not adding people because we're adding this building.
So, in effect, your testimony would be the same number of behavioral treatment providers that currently work on the campus in the PCS facility, the Edenwald facility, and I guess any other structures on the campus. That same number of behavioral treatment providers would be working in the new building. There would be no increase in the number of behavioral treatment providers in the new facility. Or would that be also the same for the medical treatment providers? And for the nurses?
Correct.
Therapists?
Correct.
Just to be clear, our numbers fluctuate all the time. So I want to, I'm a lawyer.
I'm not trying to
I
play
want
gotcha.
precision
But I'm
in
not
my.
trying to play gotcha. I'm literally,
No,
I
no,
think the
but-
question was answered wonderfully
Yes,
by your colleague.
yes.
If you want to add to it, that's
No,
fine.
I don't want to add to it,
she
but
answered it
as a
perfectly.
lawyer, I want to be very precise because tomorrow I may hire a new doctor because we have a vacancy. So what I have today may not be what I have tomorrow.
With respect, I understand why you're trying to do your job, but I think we're being clear that we understand somebody
Okay.
may be hired tomorrow.
Sure.
Somebody may leave. That's not what we're getting at all.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that we were clear.
It's really
Yes.
The idea,
We-
what you're really getting at is that there is no intention to have more providers in this facility than they typically have on campus today.
Correct.
Or would desire to have if you had everybody that you could possibly, every role you could possibly fill was.
Because I'm familiar with
Fully staffed. If they
budgets.
were fully
Budgets
staffed-
allow for hiring a certain
Yeah,
number,
yeah.
but
If
physical
they were
limitations may not allow for that.
fully staffed, the number,
But, yeah.
the number that would be considered fully staffed will not change.
That's
So
correct.
We got there, I think. We got
Painful as it was.
So I have a few questions, and the horse might be dead, but I'm still going to kick it a little bit, so as they say. Going back to the 218-85, the issue about conforming use, which we understand you have right now without any changes, you have the conforming use, and the extensions or additions to the use. Are you arguing that? I understand the points being made about you're gonna want to build this, you want to close down the disparate facilities that you use, but are you arguing that you don't necessarily have to close down those other facilities, that if you wanted to just build this as is, that it's not really, it's not a requirement for you to close down the other health centers that are built around campus? It's just something that you're going to be doing.
So again, not relevant, because it's not our intention.
We'll disagree on
It's
the
hoping to say that, though. I mean, if it's relevant to the board member who's asking,
I think
why
so,
would you
yeah.
say that it's not relevant?
Because I'm not asking you to
But
make
it's-
that interpretation. That's not the interpretation we're asking
But
for.
I'm
But
But,
it may be,
but if that was going to really change the use, then I wouldn't say that.
So
But-
I don't mind if you, I frankly don't mind if you think it's relevant or relevant. It doesn't matter your statement on that issue. Really.
Understood.
People have said worse things to me than they think I'm asking. Trust me, it's not going to bother me.
Because I'm being nice about it.
I think we're all trying to be very nice. but I'm using it
We
to try,
appreciate that.
to try and understand your logic and reasoning for how you're arriving at your position by going through relevant examples of how this, your analysis may work.
Sure.
Help me understand how you're arriving
So I
at your
guess
decision.
I'm trying to simplify it with our analysis by saying the use isn't changing at all. So I think that sort of outlines where you have to make the decision.
So to get, right, but then to get to the point, the issue about extensions or additions of, in the code that you cite, it seems to me that there's little to no guardrails for the municipality to say that what you're looking to do isn't really in line with what the use is. Because based upon what you're saying, what you seem to be arguing is that pretty much you have carte blanche to build however many rooms,
That's-
however many facilities you want. But you could say, well, we have a health center now, and we need a health center because we're a residential treatment center. So therefore, if we build a bigger health center, whether it's in the same spot or a different spot, or it's twice the size or half the size, that it all doesn't matter. That seems to me to be what you're arguing.
But that's not what I'm arguing, because I'm arguing that we're not doing that. So that the question before you, the facts before you, are that we're not doing that.
But the analysis is really still the same. So it's still the same, which is why we need to know what you're
If
doing.
it's a change in the use, that's a different issue. So if it's no longer going to be considered the residential treatment center use, because if, let's say, we were expanding the medical so much that that's changing the nature of the residential treatment center use, you might be right, but that's not what we're arguing. That's why I'm saying it's not relevant, because it's not what we're arguing.
At the end of the day, we're trying to understand what exactly is extending the use and adding to the use, and how does that play into what is actually allowable or
So
not.
that takes me sort of back to where I started, which is that if the ordinance isn't clear, and if there's any ambiguity in the ordinance, it's to be interpreted in favor of the property owner, because zoning is in derogation of the common law.
You know,
So.
argue if there's ambiguity or not.
But that brings us back to the point that I know I made efforts, and I think you made efforts to try to frame the issue that we have before us today when we first started this session. And as I recall, we made efforts to do that during our first session as well. But I'm looking at the building inspector's determination, the one that is the subject of this appeal, and I'm seeing exactly what was indicated here. And as you just indicated, you don't believe that your client needs a use variance to have permission to construct a new facility.
Correct.
But that's exactly what the building inspector
And that's why
indicated.
we've appealed his
So
determination. That's why we're here.
what I'm telling you is, the issue that we need to address as the board is whether or not that determination made by the building inspector, that you required a use variance for the new facility that you're proposing, is the issue before us. So you do have to address it, even though you disagree with the building inspector's determination, you do have to address whether or not you believe he's correct that you need a use variance. So you can't disregard the fact
I think that's
that-
what we've been doing all along.
I could tell you that it's been at times difficult to understand exactly how you're approaching this, because you've kind of taken two positions. Like I said, when we first started, it appeared as though you were suggesting that you didn't need a variance at all, that this was a permitted use, and that there was nothing further to discuss. The building inspector was wrong because he didn't make a finding consistent with your initial position that this structure was a permitted use and that you didn't need to come before this board in the first place.
He didn't make a finding that was
But
consistent
that's
with the
right, though,
facts
right? I
and
mean,
the
that is what
law.
you started with.
His finding is not
But
consistent
that
with
is
the
what
facts
you
and the
started with.
law.
That was the position you started with, was it not?
It's the same thing. His,
Or is that the position that you started with?
could you repeat it again? Because first of all, he gives we have no reason, we don't have the building inspector here to explain his reasoning. He gives no reasoning behind his one-sentence interpretation. So it kind of makes it hard for us to argue that he was wrong because we don't know really what he's
That's why we
saying.
took all the time to try to help you frame the issue before we even started the meeting, so that you would understand exactly what it is that we believed was necessary in order for you to successfully assail the decision. And I think you took great efforts to try to do that.
Mr. Acting Chairman, can I suggest just for a moment that we do have the public here that may want to comment, perhaps it might be a good time to move to public comment and give the applicants a chance, as we usually do, to wrap up.
Mr. Dorr, is there anything further that you wanted to ask of the applicants?
I don't need to add anything.
All right. Is there anything else that you wanted to add before we just open the public comment?
And we'll give you a chance
No.
to respond to public comment, too.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to open up the meeting to any members of the public who wish to be heard. If anybody likes to be heard, ma'am, please step forward. Place your name upon the record.
My name is Linda Rentis. I live at 8 Sampson Drive in Pleasantville.
Welcome. Do you swear to answer truthful, real questions put to you by this board, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, but I want to say one thing. When they say that they can't upgrade because the buildings are old, they have upgraded many buildings there, okay? Electrical, plumbing, HVAC, no permits, okay? So they can't tell us that they can't renovate that building up to code, because they can. They're saying that they're going to make this old building just offices. Can't trust that. Can't trust that. These kids today that are there, they can't even take care of them now. What are they going to do with a new facility? Add more drugs, more medication, more what? Monday, I had 4 cars down my street chasing 2 children. I have it on camera. Okay? What are we doing? They need a new facility to add more stuff? That's crazy. Let them renovate what they have now. I've been living there for 40 years. I've seen enough. 2 o'clock in the morning, kids going through my property. I have counselors going through my property. They can't take care of what's there. That's all I have to say.
Ma'am, do you want to be heard? State your name for the record.
My name is Beverly Kearns. I live at 100 Byron Road in Falmouth, New York.
Ms. Kearns, do you swear to answer truthful questions put to you by the members of this board? So help you
Yes,
God?
I do.
Thank you.
My house borders the school, so I get the driveway coming in, going out. I see the police cars, I see the ambulances, I see everything that goes on. Just Monday or Tuesday of this week, just recently, the ambulance was there again. The noise, like the woman said, you hear the screaming, the hollering, the yelling all hours. I hear it through closed windows. I hear it. There are security drivers sitting in the school parking lot, facing the neighborhoods with their high beams on, going right into the windows of my house, all hours of the night. I put up blackout curtains. The light still comes through. And it's just getting to the point where it's enough. I mean, I understand they need a facility to do this. If the kids need it, fine, but where is this facility going to go? What part of the campus is this going to go? Is this going to go closer to the neighbors? Because we don't need it. We cannot afford to have this close to the neighborhoods anymore. When I moved up here, that was completely woods. And what they've done over there in the last 60 years is unbelievable. It's too much. And like the woman said, you can't trust them with the old buildings. What are they going to do? Use them as offices? How do we know that? We don't know that. I have no reason to believe them. When they built the last facility, because one of their dorms burned down, they said they were going to work with us with the drainage problem in my area. They said we could work with you on that. You guys passed the building, let them build it. After it was built, sorry, we can't help you. So the flooding is still a problem in my area. And a lot of it is due to their property not having adequate drainage and not taking care of it. But that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the community wish to be heard? Okay, I see no other hands raised. At this point,
No, Mr. Eckman, can I just I'd like to make a statement for the record?
Sure.
I just want to, for the record, the board understands that the concerns that the neighbors have expressed on the record, in this meeting, the last meeting, with issues with certain residents and things of that nature and ongoing problems. We understand that that's a real practical concern for the neighbors. However, I'll tell you that this member, and I'm confident that the rest of the board, while we're sympathetic to those issues and understand those issues, is really laser focused on the legal interpretation needed to be considered for this application to construct a new health center building. So I just want to make that clear for both sides, because I know that it's an issue for the neighbors, and also the applicants get concerned that we're giving too much credence to that part of the equation and not the legal side of it. We understand what you're saying, but we have to be focused on the legal issues for this application. And to answer your question, ma'am, the proposed building looks to be fairly centralized on campus, roughly in the middle of the campus. So just wanted to put that, you had asked that question. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Ms. Whitehead, would you mind?
No, and I want to thank you.
Just want to make a statement that I don't know if there are any issues that were raised by the public comment that pertain to the issue before the board, but if you want to be heard to respond to any of that.
I think that Mr. Tashika did a very good job of stating it. We're well aware of the issues. We actually think that some of it will be helped by this new building because there won't be as much sort of movement around the campus by the children. It'll be more centralized. They'll be going here for more things and not to different locations around the campus. The drainage will certainly be helped because we'll have to go to the planning board. This building will have to, older buildings, and they hear it a lot. I'm going to be brief because it's irrelevant, as you said, but it may help them. New buildings tend to have less impact on drainage and sometimes make things better because the town will require a drainage plan, stormwater management plan, to handle all the runoff from the new building, whereas everything on campus today is so old that that wasn't required when it was built. And last, I just want to clarify that all the work that was done on campus, there was some work done without permits. Everything has now been permitted and signed off. We've been working very closely with the town. There have been COs issued for all the work that has been done. And we were a little confused about the reference to things done in the last 6 years because there hasn't been anything other than some internal work in the buildings that all now has COs. So, again, not necessarily relevant to you, but and I don't know that the neighbors will really, but I did want to just address those few things.
I appreciate you putting that on the record.
So, Ms. Whitehead, just to marshal some of the evidence that we did elicit during the testimony, the new structure is going to comprise a total of 11,500 square feet. It's going to provide services that had formerly been provided through the PCS facility, which was 9,053 square feet, and a portion of the Edenwald structure, which provided for 1,675 feet of treatment space. The new structure.
And additional treatment facilities spread around the campus.
I don't know if I got a square footage on it.
We didn't have a square footage on those. They're shared spaces.
Just some, I just want to try to marshal the evidence so that when we ultimately reach a decision that we can accurately reflect, what it is that, again, the existing facility and the new facility are going to provide. So in terms of the additional space, is it a number of rooms? I know you had alluded to the fact that there was space in some of the other buildings that provided for sensory rooms. Is that what you're alluding to now?
No, there's also therapy services provided, spread around the campus, some of the cottages, and some other locations.
Kind of
Sort of
amorphous
random.
characterization of them? Are they medical treatment? Are they
Mostly behavioral, I believe, behavioral
behavioral
spread
treatment
around.
rooms
Yeah,
spread throughout the campus and other?
yeah. Not medical, the medical is all in one of those two buildings.
And the services in the new facility are going to include both behavioral services, mental health services, and medical treatment services.
Correct.
And the services provided in the existing facility mirror that. They're basically the same services being provided, behavioral, mental health, and sensory.
Correct.
With respect to the features within the service providing areas of the new structure, there aren't going to be any enhancements of the equipment. You'll have more space for beds, there'll be more space for blood pressure monitors, but there won't be any additional machines, any additional equipment that isn't otherwise being made available.
There might be additional computers because there'll be space
Yeah, I'm
for
getting
them
at
and
more like
connections for
X-ray,
them.
MRI,
No
that
X-ray
sort
or
of thing.
MRI, none of those types of, again, it's not a hospital-type facility, it's an infirmary-type facility.
Okay, so, that does actually lead me to a question I didn't ask and I should have. The new facility is going to provide for, as you said, kind of immediate needs. If there was a long-term need, certainly area hospitals might be available and other facilities that are appropriate, for such treatment. In the existing facility now, what's the, in terms of need, what is the anticipated maximum stay in one of the rooms for one of the patients?
Generally, not, occasionally an
Overnight?
If a kid comes in
Is it
late.
overnight?
Yeah, if somebody's either contagious and they need to be isolated, if they come in late at night and, just need to be separated from the population, it's not long-term. There's
But
no long-term
Like,
beds.
an overnight stay is possible, but otherwise, any
Correct.
longer-term stay in a medical treatment room
Would be
would be
elsewhere.
off-site to a hospital or appropriate facility. And that would be the same in the new facility. There would not be any provision for more than an immediate treatment need, potentially one overnight, but no long-term care in those rooms.
I think we've identified one overnight room.
Okay, so there's an overnight room in the new facility that otherwise wasn't available in the existing.
There were.
We did have it. We did have it in the PCS side where kids could stay if they were contagious, means, chickenpox or something like that.
So your protocol would allow for them to have multiple days of housing and treatment within one of the rooms in the existing facility, and that would be carried over into the new
It
facility?
wouldn't be multiple, it would generally just be overnight.
Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify my answer, my question before, so the rooms in the cottages, other than a sensory room, which is usually not a residential room to begin with, if it's used right, they're not going to be turned into residential spaces?
No, we need sensory rooms in our
No,
cottages.
no, no.
so
Other
we're
than the
leaving-
sensory rooms, other rooms that are being used for other services are not going to be turned into another rooming room?
No, we can say unequivocally, there is no intention to increase, no plan or intention to increase the maximum capacity of the site in terms of the number of residents.
In fact, was it correct that the number of rooms is actually going to decrease? In the existing facility, you have 20 medical treatment rooms, 6 or 7 sensory rooms, and in the new facility, you would have 6 medical treatment rooms, 10 behavioral treatment rooms, rooms and 4 sensory rooms. So you're going, in effect, from
The number
26 or 7 down to 20? Is that
It's
correct?
close.
Yeah, and those are not gonna change. That's-
Also, the sensory rooms that,
Some of the sensory rooms in the cottages will have to remain,
Yeah, yeah.
I believe. The idea is to make sure there's also sensory rooms available where the medical services and behavioral services are being provided when they're needed at that location, which is not always currently available, because it's part of therapy.
I don't have anything else I needed to Mr. DeChico.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Novak?
No further questions.
Mr. Dorr?
Just was answered.
We have a significant record. I'm going to make a motion to the board now to close the public hearing and adjourn for decision for next month. I think we have enough here that in order to adequately establish our record, we're going to need to take some additional time to do that, so rather than keeping you here until the wee hours. What I'm going to do is make a motion at this time to adjourn solely for the purpose of a decision on the March meeting.
I'll second.
Mr. DeChico, second. Mr. Dorr?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Novak? So we're going to adjourn this meeting to next month. At that time, we will be engaged solely in a decision that will place on the record public hearing having been closed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to mention that last point.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Ms.
you for
White.
your time.
Thank you. All right, with that, I believe that's our last application for the evening.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Novak, Mr. DeChico? No objection. Okay. All right, meeting is closed.
I'm going to shut the mics off.
Thank you.